I've been thinking about the difference between love or participatory knowledge in the Vervaeke term, and then our conceptual, like rational, kind of human level knowledge with our minds. Love, or the full knowledge, full participatory knowledge, is the center and the beginning of conceptual knowledge and images and art and words and all of this, and not the reverse. All sin or human failings and evil in the end, in us, I believe comes from fear. In the end, from the fear of death. Constantly, we fear that what's good and that what we love and want will slip away, be gone forever. So we're always desperately trying to hold on to it by one means or another. And we're always trying to put and kind of capture and find the ultimate end, or truth or reality in something finite, some one concept or something that we can hold on to by knowledge, or I suppose eventually some like physical object, and that's kind of idolatry, is trying to put the infinite, to capture the infinite in something finite and then hold that thing and hold on to it. Anyway, as it says in The Cloud of Unknowing, which I've been reading, God, or like a person, or any truth or any reality, because all of those are rooted in God, can only be fully possessed and eternally possessed by love. And in its highest form, love, or perfect knowledge, like participatory knowledge, that transcends any image or word or concept or anything that you can hold on to with your mind. It requires that you fully trust yourself to the beloved in unknowing. I believe that's the ethics of beauty term. Unknowing not as like a negative thing, but as there is more to this person, or there is more to God, or there is more to this reality that I can know in that lower sense, like with my concepts and put into words and ever like express. So this higher unknowing that is like fully trusting yourself to whatever you're in communion with. And only then do you have and you truly possess the eternal heart of that reality or that person or God. Paradoxically enough, renounce all to gain all, right? It's that kind of thing, because it requires trust. This a concrete example of this, when I started thinking about it, was visiting my little baby nephew, which he's so cute, and babies are so pure and so simple, but they have, he has all of his little facial expressions, like his little noises that he makes and his little hands. And me with my writer brain, I'm constantly trying to capture that, right? That's the instinct. And describe it and think about and remember him, because I know I'm going to only visit him for a few days and all this. And to kind of get some kind of impression of him solid in my mind. And those are all normal, like, fine things to do, but in the end, the only way that I will fully know or like have or know or have him is by maintaining like a continual, irreducible, eternal communion of love with him as a person in his entirety. Like a person that you love, or God or any reality, can't be reduced to or held down by your kind of ever-shifting idea of them. A truth can't be reduced to some verbal formula. So again, the only way to really hold any reality, any truth, any person, or God himself, is by maintaining in openness and trust that continual communion of love, which is irreducible, which is eternal, and which you can only hold on to by letting yourself go to it, by being open, which sometimes may feel like letting go of the very thing you're trying to hold on to. For instance, because in this case, there's simply no way that I can capture my nephew fully and say, you know what, I've after visiting him for a couple of days, I know who he is, I have the idea of him, I can go away and I won't lack. Yeah, kind of trying to carry it away with yourself, inside yourself, instead of maintaining and trusting to maintain kind of that open communion. And it is out of fear in the end. And in this case, quite a prosaic example, I in this fallen world cannot maintain constant contact with my nephew, even though I would love to. He's super cute. And I'm going to miss him. But I have to accept that, yes, until the fullness of eternity, there's going to be a real lack. I can't reduce. Yeah, basically you can't, and you can't pretend that it becomes an idol when you pretend that some flat, some unchanging kind of concept or image of something or someone is the full reality of it, and therefore you can just have that without continuing the communion and the change in the relationship. But the nice thing is that once you have and are maintaining that heart of the thing and that love, and once there is communion, then you have freedom to creatively move between all of these systems and images and concepts and poems and art and words and all the different facets of, say, somebody that you love, or of God, or of some aspect of reality, instead of trying to find the right one that will allow you to just capture that thing once and for all and hold on to it, and fearfully clinging to that right thing once you find it, and all of this fear and defensiveness and that leads to. You can just have freedom to freshly and in new ways, forever, in different ways, explore that reality or person or, God that you're going to be forever in communion with. And so it really is freeing, and making art or thinking rationally or conceptually or whatever becomes a joyful, creative thing, and not fearful. Because this was from an article about the multiverse, but it's something that makes a lot of sense as far as how creation works from God's perspective, so to speak. And I think this is true on our level as well, since we were made in the image of God. The Father, the Son, or the Logos, and then the Holy Spirit. The Father is constantly, obviously the Trinity, is a communion of love and complete self-giving eternally. So the Father completely knows and, possesses the Son, the Logos, in love, and but not in a static, reductive way. He is constantly contemplating all of the different logi, the different forms contained within the Son, contained within the Logos, capital L. And of course these are endless, because God is infinite and is kind of the fountain of all of these infinite forms. But as the Father sees, as it were, like all these different possibilities in his beloved Son, he, and by the Holy Spirit, like pours himself out and like gives himself and contemplates and gives his love and loves the Son. These logi, that is to say, all of creation, manifestation, whatever, springs forth from the Son and through the Son, and in him we live and move and have our being, and that's really what this whole world is, and that's why. That's the underlying reality of this world, but yeah. So our relationship with an attitude toward reality, and especially toward people and toward God and things that we love, should mirror God's attitude toward the Logos, toward the Son. Knowing him completely in love, in eternal, self-giving, trusting communion that's always open and that can never stop or find an endpoint. And then kind of from that heart, like as if that was like the fountain or the source and kind of the spring of it, from that comes a creative outflowing. Yes, thank you, my clothes are done. Of concepts and for us sub-creation, for him creation. Concepts and words and images and art and all of that. None of that can fully capture reality, but since you know that through love you have reality and it has you, you can freely create and freely live. And there's a lot of security and joy in that.